Fantastic. So we are with Marcus of SINBREED. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine. Very well, thank you.
Good. Perfect.
So the new album is coming.
Yes.
So we have a few questions for you about that. But first of all, it's important for our listeners to present the band. If you can tell a little bit the story of the band.
Of course. Well, the band obviously is called SINBREED. Actually, it was founded by this guy, Flo, in, I think, 2010, before I was a part of that band.
Yes, absolutely.
He, back then, wrote all the songs for the first album, and he just wanted to record them and put them out as an album, so he was asking a couple of friends to help him record an album, and that's how SINBREED came to life. And they played a handful of shows, and actually, while I was on tour with Blind Guardian, Frederick, who obviously is also the drummer for Blind Guardian, asked me, he told me that he would play a couple of shows with SINBREED in one of the Blind Guardian touring breaks, and he was asking me if I would be interested in playing those gigs with the band, because Flo was the only guitar player and metal should be two guitars.
It was on the USA, I think.
South America.
Yeah, South America. South America, yes.
So I liked the music, so I love playing live. I agreed, said, yeah, cool, no problem, let's do it. So I used a couple of days off in South America, spending in hotel rooms. I was sick anyway, so I couldn't go out, so I was sitting there with my guitar learning the set. We exactly did 0 rehearsals before the first show.
0 rehearsals?
Not a single one. We wanted to do a big rehearsal day, like a week before the show. Problem was, I'm sometimes suffering from migraine attacks.
Oh.
On that day, I got one, and when you get that, you don't do anything. Yes, especially you don't play loud music.
Absolutely.
So all I could do was call the guy. Said, "Sorry, I can't come today, but don't worry, I can play the set. I will play the gig. No worries." So actually, I met all the guys aside from Frederick, obviously,
yes,
on the gig.
Incredible.
Yeah, I didn't know any of the guys before the show, but the fine thing is the chemistry was right from the first second. It was perfectly fine. We played the show, everything worked fine. I was well prepared, professional. And I think it was like...
How many songs you played?
I think 8 songs or something like that. 6, 7, 8 songs, something like that. And... we played a couple of gigs, like 3 gigs or so, 3 or 4. And after those gigs, they were approaching me like, if I could imagine staying as a permanent member. And yeah, I could, because as I said, the chemistry inside the band is brilliant. I like the music. So, yeah. And the thing is, obviously Blind Guardian is my main band, but that's the same case with Frederick. So SINBREED has to adjust to the Blind Guardian schedule anyway, so nothing changes for them if I join or not. Yes. So that perfectly fits, so I joined.
Is it possible to play with Blind Guardian and SINBREED at the same moment? There is no problems?
We don't play shows on the same, it's not that SINBREED plays a show with Blind Guardian. That would be too much, because the Blind Guardian show normally is like 2 hours long, and I don't want to play another hour before that, then I'm dead by the end of the night. But Blind Guardian, for example, we will only play like a handful of shows this year, so that leaves all the room for SINBREED. We can tour this year, can play gigs, whatever, and then next year we'll be on the road with Blind Guardian.
Yes, because you have a new album, I think, with Blind Guardian.
Yes, we're working on that in the moment.
We'll talk here.
Okay. No, but that's how I got into SINBREED, and then at some point we just said, okay, let's do a new album. And the nice thing was that everybody in the band, all the members, started writing. So that's not necessarily the typical thing to happen. Normally you have 1, 2 main songwriters, but here everybody contributed. Frederick wrote a song, Herbie did a song, Alex did 2 songs.
It's a collective ideas, or each one came
It depends. There is, for example, the first song that we had was Reborn. We had that pretty early. We had that in, I think, 2012 already. At least we played it at Prog Power USA in 2012. And that the basic song was written by Flo back then, but we all together worked on it in the rehearsal, changed a couple of things. That's, I think, now 3. Flo, me, and also Alex have credits for Reborn, as far as I remember. Other other songs were just written by individual people. So I wrote 2 more songs on my own. Frederick wrote a song on his own. Flo did some on his own. And obviously, once, for example, if I record a demo of one of my songs, I send it to the other guys. Things can still change. So if somebody says, that's great, but can we do this and that? Of course, obviously. But everybody was working on his own, putting things together, and at some point
there is one main idea, and then all together
can adjust things, fine tuning. Yeah,
great.
And that's how we got together with those 10 songs. We recorded it.
You're ready to play live?
Yes.
You have some gigs planned?
We just like 2-3 days ago we started talking about it. What we do now is we check the time schedules with Blind Guardian and SINBREED. As I said, Blind Guardian will be active a couple of times this year. So we're just checking when we can be on the road with SINBREED, and as soon as we settle those time spans, we start booking gigs, tours, whatever, and we will definitely play live this year, yes.
Who chose the name of Shadows and what it means, Shadows? What is the meaning of the title?
It means shade, shadow.
Yes, I know.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it's. I think the idea came from Flo. It's based on one of the songs, obviously. What makes it a great title for me is it's a very short, simple, effective. Yes. It's one word. It sticks. It just makes sense. Mystical. There's not really a deeper meaning to it, But
there is a link with the lyrics.
Yes,
probably.
yeah, it is.
What are the lyrics talks about? What kind of things?
I'm not really it's all. There's one song, London Moon, which is about Dorian Gray.
Yes.
And the other songs are little fantasy, horror, mystical, whatever stories, but they're not based on books, movies, or anything like that. Okay. So, since I'm not really the lyric guy, I never wrote a single lyric in my whole life. I don't think it will ever change. I'm a guitar person. I'm not a lyric person. So,
was it easy to play? You bring ideas on Blind Guardian, then you bring the ideas on SINBREED. But why this song is more for SINBREED than from Blind Guardian?
I wanted to separate this strictly because I wanted to avoid any Blind Guardian influences coming into SINBREED because it just doesn't make sense for me. I'm in Blind Guardian, so if I want to play Blind Guardian type of music, I do this with Blind Guardian, obviously. So I was focusing on this, ignoring everything that I would normally do if I write for Blind Guardian, all guitar, harmony, layers, and stacking things like this, what people would consider typical trademarks for a Blind Guardian song. I avoided all this. I had to force myself because obviously that's force of habit.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm doing since 30 years. That's part of myself as well.
Absolutely.
But as I said, that was something that was very important for me. I didn't want to turn SINBREED into Blind Guardian Point 2 or something,
Yes.
So I was listening to the debut, and the basic sound of SINBREED was established with the debut album already. So I was listening to that, focusing on what, in my opinion, makes out SINBREED, and ignore everything that would be Blind Guardian and try to follow that road. I think it worked. At least I think the songs that I wrote don't sound like Blind Guardian. Same with the song that Frederick wrote. It doesn't sound anything like Blind Guardian. And then I can just say mission accomplished, because as I said, that was the least thing that I wanted to do. I don't want to turn SINBREED into
Blind Guardian.
Yeah. The comparison will come anyway, because 50%, half of Blind Guardian is playing in SINBREED, so people will ask about it anyway. And I don't want to feed that by, adding Blind Guardian elements into that music. SINBREED is an individual band that stands on its own. It doesn't need any Blind Guardian comparisons or elements or anything. That's, I can do this with Blind Guardian.
Right. Let's talk about some songs of the album. Mm-hmm. I like a lot Leaving the Road. Who brings the idea? Can you tell me?
I can, yes, because I wrote that one.
It's a very good song. I like
Thank you very much. Actually, I was saying this before in another interview already. I'm very happy with that song because never ever before in my life as a musician I wrote a song that easy. I have no idea what happened. You know, the basic riff idea, the main riff for the verse, that's an older idea that I had since, I don't know, a couple of years. I never really used it for a song. And, you know, I thought, hey, that perfectly fits to SINBREED. You know, let's use it for a song. The whole rest of the song, it took me, including the guitar solo, it took me like 2 hours from that starting point.
Fantastic.
It was one afternoon. I just thought, hey, that riff fits to SINBREED. And suddenly I had the intro, suddenly I had the chorus, I had the guitar solo and everything, and suddenly the song was done. It was like, wow. You know, I didn't send it to the other guys on that day because I thought that's too quick. Listen to it tomorrow, you know, sleep.
You can listen after.
Listen tomorrow. Most likely you'll delete half of the song and start all over again. But, you know, I listened to it on the next day and sent it to the others. And everybody was like, yeah, cool. So that's my lucky punch, I guess. Normally it takes much longer to write a song, especially if you do the guitar solo as well and everything. It was like 2 hours.
Great.
No idea what happened. I hope I can do it again. But
there is another song, a very long song. It's Broken Wings. It's a longer song.
It's Frederick.
It's Frederick.
Yeah.
Why this song? Because it's very longer, so it's different from the other tracks of the album.
It is very different. I think the reason for it being different is not just the length. Yeah, it is a bit longer, but I think, as I said, Frederick wrote that song, but Frederick doesn't play a typical melody instrument. He plays bagpipes, he plays flutes, but you know, you don't grab a flute and write a metal song. It doesn't work. He obviously plays drums, but drums is not really an instrument where you compose songs.
Absolutely.
And he can't play guitars. You know, I gave him one of my guitars.
So he imagined.
No, I gave him one of my guitars because he wanted to practice, but you know, he's not good enough to record something and say, hey, here's my song idea. So what he did is, he programmed MIDI guitars. You know, he bought a software, guitar emulation software. He programmed everything.
Good.
So what he did is he sent us this MIDI song. And we had to work on it a bit because sometimes, obviously, him not being a guitar player, he sometimes programmed some things that you just can't play on a real guitar. You know, I was like, okay, that chord would be something like this. Sorry, I have to change it, you know. Or with the acoustic intro and outro, I transferred this to a real acoustic guitar, and it was a bit different compared to what he programmed. I told him, you know, I recorded it and sent it to him and said, you know, this is how I would do it. It's a bit different, but that's, you know, a guitar player's approach.
Absolutely.
What do you think about it? He loved it, and that's how this song grew. And I think that's what's making this song very different, that the whole approach of writing was something completely different. So there was not a guy grabbing a guitar and says, okay, you know, Herbie, the singer, plays guitar. Alex, the bass player, also plays guitar. Flo and me obviously play guitar. So Frederick's approach was completely different. Still, it's a great song.
It's a good track, absolutely,
Yep.
it's a great song. Let's talk a little bit about The Blind Guardian. Can you tell us more about...
It's a good band.
About the new album, the
Actually,
release date, if you have something.
You know, we're aiming at a certain date, but I won't name it yet because we didn't publish it yet, and I don't want to put out a date yet that in the end we might move. You know, we're known for blowing a couple of deadlines once in a while.
But everything is recorded?
No, not everything. We're still recording. Actually, we're working on 2 albums in parallel. So we're working on the next, what we call the regular Blind Guardian album. But we're also finally finishing the orchestral album in parallel. So both albums will be done this year.
With new tracks?
It's completely new tracks.
Also the symphonic track?
It's all new music. It's not that an orchestra is playing Nightfall or anything like
absolutely.
that. It's all new music. So we're finishing both albums in the moment. Right now we're recording some bass guitars for the regular album, then we might jump again to the classical stuff. Both albums will be done. The first one that will come out is the regular Blind Guardian album, the metal band, so we can hit the road, go on tour, and while we're touring, then we can also put out the classical one, which will come out a bit later.
And you recorded with an orchestra
Yes.
In Germany?
No, in Prague. It's the same orchestra that we used for the last studio album. It's the Prague Symphonic Orchestra. Brilliant guys. That's one of the main reasons why finishing this project took so long. I mean, we started talking and working on this in the middle of the 90s.
Oh.
But back then, when we were doing classical things for Blind Guardian, it was programmed keyboards, which works fine, but it's no match to the real thing. No matter how well you program that keyboard or how good the sounds might be, it will never sound like a 90 people orchestra playing. So back in the 90s, we had no chance to work with a real orchestra. We had this for the last studio album, for At the Edge of Time, and that was when finally things were speeding up, when we found that orchestra that we could work with.
Great.
And as I said, we're finishing this one parallel to the next studio album.
Yes, and do you plan to play live with the orchestra also later?
We think about it. We think about different options. It would be a very nice thing, of course, to do it. We were thinking about maybe doing another Blind Guardian festival like the one in Coburg some years ago, where we could do one night a regular Blind Guardian show, one night with an orchestra. We're thinking about options. There's nothing decided yet, but obviously, it would be great to do it.
Yes.
So we'll see. Yeah, same for us. We hope so too. But it's obviously it's not easy. It's not a simple thing that you can't just put 90 people of a classical orchestra on stage.
Yes.
And then have the full volume blown up metal band playing at the same time. That's a bit more tricky.
Absolutely.
But it can be done, and we would like to do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcus, for this interview.
You're welcome. Hi, everybody. This is Marcus of SINBREED and Blind Guardian. You're listening to the radio. To be precise, you're listening to United Rock Nation. Stay tuned.